Hi there, my name is Diane, but you can just call me D. Today I'm gonna do my TBR for February. So the first book I want to talk about is The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell, which was a book I wanted to read in January, but because of library issues, seriously, this is not the time. Because of library issues, I was only able to get the book in February, so I will definitely pick it up over the weekend. The next book I want to pick up is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is a young adult urban fantasy. I usually don't like urban fantasy, but this was pitched as a King Arthur's retelling, and that was really intriguing to me. There was so much buzz around this book that I really wanted to see what the hype was all about. So I actually already started this book. I'm actually almost done, so you'll definitely will get my opinion in this book. The next book I want to read is Rune and Rising by Lee Bardugo. This is the third and last book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, so I'm really excited about finishing this trilogy and getting to the next series in this world. I'm not really expecting much from this book. I know I said I wanted only to put 3 books on my TBR each month, but I may or may not have requested too many books at once at the library. They came more rapidly than I thought they would, so anyway, Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger. This, I believe, is a young adult thriller mystery, which might also have some magical realism in it. And so I've heard a lot of good things about this book, and I'm really excited to read it. So I think the order of preference for these books might go Legendborn, Elatsoe, The Last Kingdom, and Rune and Rising. I'm really excited. I'll see you in the next clip. Today is Monday the 16th of February. I finished Legendborn by Tracy Dion about 10 days ago, but I was just really busy and couldn't update until now. This basically is an urban fantasy. It's a retelling of King Arthur, and so it's very interesting because I don't like urban fantasies because it often feels a bit too contemporary for my liking. This one turned out to be actually super fun. I enjoyed the writing, I enjoyed the dialogues, I enjoyed the plot. Something that's noteworthy also is that it's a debut, and I thought it was a very strong debut. I didn't even know it was a debut. I thought it was extremely powerful and rich in its content. There was a lot happening, and it had a lot of depth with the characters especially. I'm just really glad I picked it up, and I will definitely continue with the series, although I think I would have wished that this was just a standalone, to be honest. A few things that I would like to point out is that it is a bit tropey. There is the chosen one trope, which I love, so I don't mind about that. But also there's a little bit of miscommunication, which I usually don't really enjoy because it's not very realistic. There's a conversation and all of a sudden like someone just gotta leave. That's how you leave the conversation. People miscommunicate for sure in real life, but not necessarily that way. Dialogues that are just a few sentences and then the person just leaves like that, and the other person is like, I've got so many questions, but I'm just not gonna ask. I don't know. If people like it, people like it, but I personally don't really enjoy miscommunication tropes, but it's okay. Like, it's I think the biggest one, and that might be a bit of a spoiler, it's like foreshadowing a possible love triangle, and I hate love triangles. This is definitely something that will make me put a book down or make me really angry. If you also are like me, you don't really enjoy that, just be aware that just like, oh, why is it even there? What I love the most about this book were the parts about her discovering her mother. Really? That is so rude. Her discovering her mother's heritage, and through her grief she was able to connect with her mother. I really like that. Another thing to note is that characters are between 16 and 18 years old. The main characters, they don't feel like that in my opinion. So I was not a major fan of the fight scenes. I thought the writing could be polished a little bit better here because it got confusing at times. I think there were some pacing issues for me, that a lot was going on in this book. There's a lot that happens in a very short amount of time, but in between the pace is slowing down, which I guess makes sense writing wise, but it might have slowed down a little bit too much for me and it got a bit boring. I'm definitely gonna continue with this, and this author is definitely gonna be on my auto read list for sure. I really enjoyed it. So for my star rating, so it's 4.5 stars for now. I really enjoyed it and I think it deserved the hype in my opinion. So for Blackathon, I'm team science fiction and fantasy. So Legendborn fit the Rita Woods prompt. A character traverses spirit realm or heavily embodies black spirituality or spiritualism. For Polarathon, I was in the Arctic Fox team and this fit the retelling prompt. Yes. Today is Monday the 1st of March, I think, so I haven't been able to update this video because I've been really busy with uni. Anyways, so the next book I read was The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. This is a historical fiction. I know I said in the past that it might be fantasy fiction, but it is not. There's no elements of fantasy. It's more because it's, you know, sort of a retelling of historical events and having taken some leeway on what might have happened. This is the story of Uhtred, who is an English boy who gets captured by the Danes, and he is raised by them, and so he grows up having a different religion. So he grows up around a totally different culture than he was born into. It's basically the story of falling in love with this newfound family, but at the same time feeling like his roots and his duty belong to the Anglo-Saxons. So the book starts when he's really young up until his 20s. So you get to see how he's really conflicted between who he is by blood and who he has become being raised in a totally different environment. Alongside that, it's also the story of how England really was made. To me, this book was fantastic. I really liked how the writing felt super realistic, like it's an historical fiction and you can really feel like this could have totally happened. It felt very true to what war looks like or what fights are. So I have to say it's heavy on the religion. For the Danes and the Anglo-Saxons, religion was really important, so it's something to keep in mind. Also, the writing, I enjoyed it, but it is a lot of narration. Like there's not much dialogue. It's pretty much just a thread just retelling his childhood and the important moments in his life that formed who he became as this fierce warrior later on. I just really enjoyed this book. Basically, I thought that him feeling so deeply accepted by the Danes and loved by them, being so grateful by everything that he learned from them, and how he still felt like that was not where he belonged in a way. There was always this conflict in his mind that yes, this is where he belongs, and then maybe it is not where he belongs. Maybe he actually would want to fight for his country as an Anglo-Saxon. So yeah, very interesting. Honestly, I didn't know I was going to love it that much. I just didn't. I would like to pick up the next book. It's like a 13 book long series, so I don't know what I got myself into there, but I gave it 5 stars. This was fantastic. For me, there's a lot of names that are thrown at you. There's a lot of things that might be a little bit difficult to grasp at first, but I think if you enjoy historical fiction, this is really good. Yeah, this is a really good choice. So the third book that I've read was Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger, and this was supposed to be a fantasy thriller mystery for young adult, except for the few swear words here and there and maybe some bloody scenes. Except for that, I think this book could have been a middle grade rather than a YA, because that's how the voice felt to me. And I think, you know, you could have just removed those few elements. It would have probably benefited from being middle grade, in my opinion. This book basically takes place in the same world as today. However, it's an alternate reality. So monsters, vampires, ghosts, all those things are accepted and totally normal. It's important to go into this book knowing this, otherwise I feel like you might be lost at the beginning and be like, what is happening? You might have more questions that would not get answered necessarily in the book, because you have to assume that it is completely ordinary and common in this world to come across ghosts and magic and paranormal things. I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was how the traditional storytelling from an indigenous perspective was portrayed, and how the Lipan Apache culture was woven into the story. So basically, Ellie, the main character, she's 17 years old and her cousin dies suddenly, and her family don't believe that it's accidental. The story is basically her trying to find out what happened. I liked the traditional storytelling. We read about the adventures of her 6th great grandmother. I think it was really interesting to read about. A nice perspective to have. Her parents are a very strong part of this book. It's nice to see that she is being listened to by them. Like, you can really feel that they are parents and they care for their daughter. The book was really trying to emphasize how connected the family was together. So that was really nice. I think the whole mystery aspect and the conspiracy behind it was very interesting. I liked that it had a deeper meaning and a social commentary behind it, and how it was rooted in colonialization, a little bit like Legendborn actually. Unfortunately, there were quite a few things I was not necessarily like a fan of. For example, the writing style was not for me. I think the dialogues were the weakest part of the book. I did not find them realistic for some reason. I did not believe that people would have such conversations, or in that way. It just felt very inauthentic to me. I also felt like for some reason it was disjointed. The way sometimes things were brought up and then they were brought up again like 5 seconds later, but they acted like it had happened so long ago. So I didn't really get that. I didn't enjoy how distracting the dialogues were during tense moments. It was really slowing down the pace of action. Like, something was happening, but you had a very long exposition dialogue that was just didn't fit there. The last part might be a bit spoilery, but I'll try to keep it as spoiler free as I can. But basically, at the end of the book, Ellie makes a call to her mom. She tells her a few things, a few crucial things, and her mom responds to it, okay? But then we get the perspective of the mom, and it's like the call never happened. So I don't know if it's in the editing process this was missed, but it honestly is just reinforcing my feelings towards the writing, and how it almost felt like this was still in the drafting process. This is a debut though, so I guess you have to like keep that in mind. I just think that a stronger editing could have made this book into something more powerful. I didn't like that the plots and the dialogues were so disjointed. It did not make sense all the time. That was not on purpose, you know. I would be interested in seeing what the author comes up with next. So I think I gave this book 3 stars, and that's really all I have to say for this. So I'm in the process of reading actually 2 books. Yeah, but none of them are the 4th book I was supposed to read for February. So I think I will continue updating this video until I read that 4th book, which would be actually this week, as soon as I'm finished with one of my books, I will pick up Rune and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. So even though we're going into March now, it's fine. I'll just count it as being read in March on paper, but just for the sake of this video, I think it'd be nice to see where it fits in my ranking. Yeah, so far I think I've been pretty correct in my ranking so far, haven't I? Oh, hopefully. We'll see. But that's it. Today is Thursday, March 4th, and it's gonna be a super quick update. So I finished a few days ago Snow by John Banville. So I'm counting this book in my February wrap up because I read most of it in February. Why is this gonna be a quick review? It's because I have nothing but negative things to say about it, and I want to actually make a review on its own. I haven't heard like anything on BookTube about this book, and thank God in a way. This book was pitched to me on my library app as an Agatha Christie-esque book, meaning that it was going to be a cozy murder mystery. It is not it. Huge trigger for pedophilia. I have so many thoughts that I want to rant about. I definitely would not recommend this book. It doesn't bring anything to the table. Would advise against reading this book. The prose isn't even that fantastic. Anyway, I'll talk more about it in that review. It's blurbed by Peter Swanson, which is an author I read last year. I read 8 Perfect Murders, and I really disliked this book, so I kind of should have known that I might not enjoy this book either. Read this book, I gave it 1 star. You know, you live and you learn, and you regret a lot. I don't know if I will have finished this book by the end of this week, so I just don't feel like reading this book. I read like 14 pages and I just had to stop because I was already so annoyed. I want to have a clip in this vlog to to just wrap up, because I had put it on my TBR, and so I like that it would go together. So I don't know, I guess I will delay this vlog a little bit more, that's fine. But I just hope I can read it before it's due at the library. I don't know, we'll see. I guess I will try to get halfway through there, and if I still don't feel like it, I might just DNF it. That's about it for this clip though, and hopefully I will come back with my last update for this month.